Hey Crestwood, happy Wednesday to you all. Hope you all are doing well, having a great week so far. It is such an honor for me to serve you all. There is so much good stuff going on at Crestwood right now. Hope you've had a chance to see our faithful plan and all the things that God is calling us to do and be in the next few years. I am so excited to get started on that, and it makes me even more excited to be your pastor. And I'm very honored to bring you this devotional for this Wednesday, September 10th. So this past Friday, Amy and I went and saw a comedian at a comedy off Broadway, a guy named John Christ. He's a Christian comedian who usually plays bigger venues, but he was trying out new material. And so we got to see him in this smaller, intimate setting, and it was fantastic. And he started by joking about Lexington. And he's like, Lexington, I can't figure you guys out. I don't know exactly what you have going on. It's like, for example, I went to a coffee shop today and they had a pride flag out front and the guy behind me was wearing a MAGA hat. What, Lexington, who are you? What are you trying to be? And I think that's a pretty good representation of who Lexington is. I mean, we are in the Bible Belt. There is definitely a strong conservative presence. And we're in a very red state. And yet we have a university here, which brings with it other worldviews, different perspectives. Lexington's just an interesting place to try to be in community together. I have noticed that in trying to interact with pastors from more conservative churches, that we don't always play nice with each other because we can be so far apart on certain issues. And Lexington brings together a lot of things related to race, related to LGBTQ issues, related to socioeconomic status. And it's sort of this really interesting place where those things come together. I was reading a book this past week on how to be an ally. How do you be an ally for people who are struggling with oppression, be it LGBTQ folks or people of color? We're probably going to do that as a book study in October. I would hope you would join us for that conversation because I found it really interesting, some of the things that it said of how do we be an ally and make sure we are standing up for our faith, standing up for what we believe, standing up for who we feel like Christ is calling us to be, but doing so in a way that doesn't alienate other people. How do you strike that balance between saying, hey, this isn't right, this isn't who Christ calls us to be, this isn't what the gospel says, without becoming too sort of righteously indignant in your own place and breaking relationship with somebody else. I think that's one of the challenges that faces our country today is how do we stay in relationship with people who believe differently than us, who live out their faith differently than us in ways that we fundamentally disagree with. I think that's what's tearing at the fabric of our country right now, as we are so polarized on all ends of the spectrum, from hanging a pride flag to wearing a MAGA hat and everything in between. So one of the things this book talks about is the importance of relationships. How are we staying connected in our relationships with people sort of at the interpersonal level, at the granular level, instead of focusing just on the bigger issues of injustice and how we can address those? How are we making sure we're staying in relationship? And I think that's really important when I think about who we are at Crestwood. If one of our values is to be welcoming, that means we welcome everyone. And a lot of times when we say we welcome everyone, we assume that that means welcoming people who aren't welcome other places. And that's absolutely true. We really, truly want to welcome everyone. But that also means welcoming people that maybe we would be in conflict with outside the walls of this church, right? So I often say, how do we welcome the person of color and the racist? How do we welcome the LGBTQ person and the homophobe? How do we make sure everybody feels welcome at Crestwood for the purpose of experiencing God's love and living out God's transformative power in our lives? We all need to be transformed. We all need to repent. Doesn't matter who we are. Doesn't matter any of the other characteristics. We all fall short of who God has called us to be. And so how do we create space for everyone, whether they're waving the pride flag or wearing the MAGA hat, to be present with us, to extend Christ's hospitality for the purpose of enacting God's transformation within each of us? I think that's an ongoing challenge for us. We're going to have to try to figure out how to live that out as we live out our faithful plan of what does it mean to make sure that we are welcoming to everyone. That doesn't mean that everyone's going to feel welcome. Someone may come here and experience something they feel like, this may not be the church for me, and that's okay. But it's our job to open the doors, and it's our job to set the table and make sure that everybody feels welcome, especially in a city, especially in a culture, in a society right now that is so fragmented and so pulled apart and so divisive? How can we at Crestwood continue to be a place where everyone is welcome? Here's the thing. We all draw a line. For every single one of us, there's someone we believe isn't welcome, that shouldn't be welcome. That's what we have to work on. That's who God is calling us to be. How can we welcome everyone to the table? Let's work on that together, Crestwood. God bless you.